This is Camnet Television Main News. My name is Jeffrey Siambo. Our top stories: former President Edgar Lungu's associate, Varden Findlay, had more than one passport, witness tells court. Chief MPUKA describes late distribution of inputs as a blessing in disguise. EX-MUSHE milling employees spent the night in court at ZCCM Investment Holdings offices demanding for benefits. In international news, hundreds of Kenyan animals die in severe drought. And in sports news, Boxing Federation commends government.
From time immemorial, we have had different types of lighting options, from those that can burn down our investments in minutes to those that dig holes in our pockets due to constant replacement and huge consumption of our ZESCO units. Savenda Electric introduces the new and advanced electric bulb with cutting-edge technology of LED that has low power consumption, gives out bright white light, and lasts up to 25,000 hours. Savenda Electric manufactures all types of LED light, like plastic LED fluorescent tubes, down lights, ceiling lights, outdoor fittings, and solar street lights made to customer specifications. Let's live on the bright side of life by choosing the wide range of Savenda electric lighting solutions that are available in all leading stores and supermarkets countrywide. For orders, call 0962-642-490 or email jnbunda@savenda.com or pchabula@savenda.com.
A falcon, known for flying high speeds, unmistakably grace and flying incredible long distances. Falcon Express is equal to the task with your deliveries. Friendly and reliable, a company that cares for you, local and international coverage, company that empowers its customers on time, every time, all the time. Nationwide delivery.
Send your parcel through Falcon Express to Mongu, Kabwe, Ndola, Kapiri, Kitwe, Chingola, Chipata, Livingstone, Mazaboka, Kasama, Solwezi, Kalumbila, Chililabombwe, Luansha, Kalulushi. Get in touch with us on +260 971 130 766 and drop your parcels at Falcon Express. Falcon Express. Your parcels are safe with us.
Welcome once again. Another news in detail. Former MUSHE milling employees have vowed to continue spending nights in the cold at the premises of the ZCCM Investment Holdings until their salaries are paid. The former employees have since Monday been protesting, demanding that ZCCM Investment Holdings, the majority shareholder in MUSHE milling, pays them their 5 months' salary arrears. The former employees have since called on relevant authorities and President Hakainde Hichilema to intervene in the matter. More in this report.
It is their third day to camp at these premises belonging to ZCCM Investment Holdings. These are former MUSHE milling company employees who are owed in excess of 5 months unpaid salaries. The former milling company employees have vowed to continue sleeping at the premises until their demands are met by their employer, who in this case is ZCCM-HI, the majority shareholder in the company, which they claim is now under liquidation.
abana baralienshi orofe foto kulalia to kulalienshi ene anyonsha apa cho ntumira phone kusense na tikaunga menna musira kutoka pamande kana sila so nza chosa kutindala mazogulira kunga so bantandizireko bamena abenna sebezera bamushe milingo na baze ZCCM bantandizireko please na papa atama ndera la panso kumoneka street kids mulodi muna abantu abarepta bale monata abama street kwali bana street kids bale moneka smart so kanchi ne muntu ndabomba na alibomba kale ndolera fyo kwati bamperendera mashandi since bena na abafirwa bali tusainisha permanent weka
from 2010 up to lero pano but balefo kutubutuka fye not efficient for balenda pali.
According to these employees, they have accused ZCCM-HI of mismanaging resources at Mushe Milling, adding that before ZCCM-HI bought the majority shares in the company, all was well. They have since pleaded with President Hakainde Hichilema to compel ZCCM-HI, which is a government institution, to pay them their dues as they are suffering.
Made us to suffer like this because they are doing something fishy with the leaders of the union. So those leaders of the union, we wanted them to come here, but they have refused. So that's why I think there's something awful about them. Yeah. So abale mfuako batu afundisheko na bakatega bene watu walevotera ifwe batu olekeshepunga chakwati bamo na pamida ngo uyu mwana nishareri la jatu walevotera kufo kutuafulisha ni bene nga twasanga ma problem yaso so ya ma problem tule facinga bakateka tulekesheni po.
Meanwhile, Mushe Milling Union chairman identified as Malikia Piri, when contacted, told this reporter that ZCCM-HI has refused to give the union audience, adding that whenever they visit the offices, their visit ends at the reception.
The ZCCM has, we have never met with that board. That board has been avoiding us. Since we started coming to that office, they have been avoiding us. And we have been confined just at the receptions. We have never met them. So I don't know how these people look. I don't know.
Meanwhile, ZCCM-HI, when contacted, could not disclose when exactly the former employees will be paid their dues, but only assured that the matter is being addressed. For now, these former employees will have to continue spending the night in the court with the hope of getting paid what they worked for. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Chief MPUKA of the Chikunda people of Luanga district in Lusaka says the delay in farming input distribution has come as a blessing in disguise because the rains have also delayed. In an interview with Camnet News, the traditional leader notes that Luangwa, like many other areas, have not had rains until Monday this week, coinciding with the distribution of farming inputs under the Farmer Input Support Program. He says this therefore means that no challenges will be encountered in the harvest unless otherwise. The traditional leader also notes that Luangwa has been hit hard with the climate change, citing it as a main hindrance to harvest. He is, however, hopeful that the farmers will be proactive enough to plant crops that will stand the bad weather conditions in an event it happens to hit the district.
Lucky enough, I think there will be no farmer there to complain because the rains came late. The fertilizer has come, I can say it has come at the right time because this time is people are getting the fertilizer from the government. Those are the farmers. We have two types, I think. We have got one which they say is loan. This one is given by community development. It's handled by community development. And we have got the one which we get after paying 400 kwacha. That one is in. I think every farmer has got it. Those who haven't got it yet, it means it's the transport from the where it is kept to the farm. So in the shed. So on that one, I think we wait and see what God will give us on the rain side.
Community-based Natural Resources Management Chairperson Roger Lubilo is impressed with strides made in the conservation sector in the year 2022 with hopes of actualizing most of the pronouncements made by government. Speaking during the 6th CBN-RM Forum Annual Conference, Mr. Lubilo has noted with concern that the hunting industry has witnessed serious issues polarizing the industry, hoping that the industry's glory will be restored soon. Mr. Lubilo notes that the hunting sector has lost revenue for the hunting community, thereby disrupting the livelihoods of many. More in this report.
Community-based Natural Resources Management 60th Annual Conference has taken off in Lusaka, whose aim is to look at the gains and losses made in the conservation sector in the year 2022. The conference, which is being held under the theme Living Strong Green Economy, Climate Change Adaptation and Diversification of Revenue Resources, has attracted over 10 traditional leaders who are one of the main partners in the conservation of the environment and natural resources. Speaking at the conference, CBNRM Chairperson Rogers Lubilo says success has been recorded despite the challenges faced in the year 2022. He has cited government's position over their policy, which he says is a step in the right direction.
I've seen strides in all the various corners of the natural resources sector, that efforts are being made by the government, communities, partners and stakeholders to ensure that the conservation of environment responds to the climate challenges, and that together we can build a great future for our people in this country. Let me comment on some of the things that we think have gone well or we have done. CBNRM policy. Hunting industry, the year witnessed some serious inconsistencies on how to deal with and manage the disagreements on this issue, and I think it polarized the industry a lot. We hope that this will come to pass and that the industry's integrity will be protected. We had no major hunting activities this year, and communities lost guaranteed revenues.
And Mr. Lubilo has cautioned its members to use the funds allocated to communities wisely and avoid temptations.
I would like to use this opportunity without shame to warn and send a strong signal that anyone who would deliberately collude, connive with anyone, be in government or anywhere else in future, to misuse these resources that come to us at a great cost, we will not hesitate to report to police so that the culprits are arrested and prosecuted. So I'm calling upon my fellow brothers and sisters in the CRBs and CFMGs to avoid, please avoid any temptation to misuse, misapply the community funds.
Meanwhile, CBNRM President George Tembo says conservation is a cross-cutting issue which has a direct effect on people's livelihoods, hence the need for communities to ensure that the country works collaboratively to achieve success.
There has been a saying that communities have got no capacity to manage resources. And we've been arguing. And yes, I continue to argue, we do have the capacity that we can manage. But you discover that people in authority have discouraged that communities should prove themselves to be capable of. As serious, most likely a standing block comes from the technocrats. As a result, we were allowed to let these communities down and look at if they can manage.
The conference is a 3-day program which is aimed at finding solutions to the problems being faced in the conservation sector. Sharon Kalimbula, Camnet News, Lusaka.
The Ministry of Youth, in partnership with the United Nations, have launched Phase 1 of a project aimed at providing solutions to youth empowerment and employment in Zambia. Minister in charge of Youths, Elvis Nkandu, says government under Phase 1 of the project will recruit 2,000 interns, apprentices and volunteers across the country. The minister, who represented President Hakainde Hichilema at the launch Tuesday, says the project is envisioned to run for 12 months and that youths will be placed in public, private and civil society organizations in various sectors of the economy, prioritizing key socio-economic and labor-intensive sectors. And speaking at the same event, United Nations Resident Coordinator Beatrice Mutali says during the first phase of the program, the United Nations will support in addressing and integration service provision for capacity development and education while testing and implementing solutions and approaches to address youth empowerment and employment challenges. More in this report.
Youth unemployment has remained the biggest challenge in Zambia as many youths are being wasted due to lack of productivity. In order to fulfill its campaign promise of providing youth employment and opportunities, the United Party for National Development UPND-led administration working with the United Nations has launched phase 1 of a project aimed at providing solutions to youth empowerment and employment in Zambia. And Ministry of Youth, Sports and Art Permanent Secretary Kangwa Chileshe, who made a presentation at the launch of the project, highlighted some of the findings of a research that was conducted in Lusaka regarding youth unemployment.
One problem, access to finance. Number 2, access to land. Number 3, limited entrepreneurship and vocational skills training. Number 4, challenges of registering a business, too many bottlenecks. Over 3/4 of young people surveyed reported that the registration and licensing process was too complicated and difficult.
Meanwhile, Minister in charge of Youth and Sport Elvis Nkando, who represented Zambia's President Hakainde Hichilema at the launch, says in an effort to provide solutions to youth unemployment challenges, his administration under Phase 1 project will recruit 2,000 interns, apprentices and volunteers across the country.
1. The internship, graduate, apprenticeship and volunteer program. This program, the internship, graduate, apprenticeship and volunteer program, will target youth who are school leavers, including those who may not have been to school. And I repeat, including those who may not have been to school. That's how inclusive will be. That's the difference between the previous internship and this one.
And Education Minister Douglas Yakalima also added his voice.
You mentioned one of you talked about mental health. Yes, it's a big challenge about the adolescents and as well as youth. It's a big challenge. But we can minimize mental health if we keep our kids in school.
What have we provided in order to make sure that the youth are catered for? We may blame them, but the other finger is pointing on us as government. And the other finger is also pointing at other stakeholders.
And speaking at the same event, United Nations Resident Coordinator Beatrice Mutali says the launch of the program provides a unique opportunity to reimagine responsive people-centered development models that can yield accelerated tangible dividends for Zambian youths, regardless of rural-urban divides and education backgrounds.
During this critical phase of the program, the United Nations will support in addressing and integrating service provision for capacity development and education, while testing and implementing solutions and approaches to address youth empowerment and employment challenges.
Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
The Ministry of Information and Media Permanent Secretary Kennedy Kalunga has disclosed that the Access to Information Law may be enacted into law in the first quarter of 2023. Mr. Kalunga says those calling for the enactment of the ATI law are pushing an already open door. He says access to information is critical, further stating that it will help the government fight corruption issues. He made the remarks when he officiated at the Southern Africa Development Community SADC National Media Training facilitated by Consumer Unity Trust Society, CUTS. And the Permanent Secretary has called on the media not to only monitor the report on developments on regional integration, but also encourage leaders to uphold their commitments to the protocols signed.
Now the UPA government has just continued with its agenda. Hence we are saying this, we are hoping, God willing, the first quarter of 2023 will have it in the next sitting, because Parliament is closing soon. We are hoping that in the first quarter, this we should close the subject of access to information bill. We want to enact it as a UPND government, as a middle government. We want to give the people what they want. You don't want it to help? It will help us every week, you and me, to be proactive, to disclose the information. It will also help us in issue of corruption in procurement. If a pen costs 5 kwacha, procurement buys at 20 kwacha. Now the people in procurement will know that the citizen will have the right to ask them, why did you buy the pen at 20 kwacha instead of at 5 kwacha? It will be deterrent also to issues of corruption.
Former Kabwe area member of parliament Tutu Ngulube has been put to rest at Kabwe's old St. Mary's Cemetery. The burial was attended by opposition Patriotic Front members, including former Republican President Edgar Lungu, who led the mourners, and some government officials. The late Tutu Ngulube died on Saturday last week after a short illness. He has been described by many as a vibrant politician whose death has left a huge gap in the lives of many. More in this report.
Mourners gathered on Wednesday, 7th December 2022 to pay their last respect to former Kabwe area member of parliament Tutu Ngulube, an outspoken politician and renowned lawyer. Close friends, family and those he mentored direct and indirectly have called him a man of principle and decency during a funeral service this morning at St. Mark's UCZ Church in Kabwe. Mr. Ngulube died in Lusaka on the 3rd of December 2022 after a short illness. His body was taken to Kabwe from Lusaka yesterday, his final resting place.
Honorable Ngulube will be remembered as a politician who stood for the truth, a reputable lawyer and a businessman, an inspiration to many young people and emerging politicians in the country. Fellow mourners to the National Assembly of Zambia, the late Honorable Ngulube will be remembered as someone who saved the institution with honor and humility.
Today, even as we are from Tutua, let's take into account that it's not how old you live, it's not how many years you live, but it's what you put down for the benefit of humanity. And let's emulate Tutua Ngulube, what he did for this nation. He represented the nation in parliament, he represented the humanity. We have heard how we have helped many orphans and the people who needed school fees. This is the life to emulate.
Paying their last respect were former Republican President Edgar Lungu with the former First Lady Esther Lungu, Minister of Local Government Gary Nkombo, Minister of Transport Frank Tayali, and many others, including members of the opposition Patriotic Front Party.
Ngulube, the lawyer, was a very active and prolific advocate. He was a people's lawyer. In the PF, he was a lawyer for all. He was always available to render legal services to all his colleagues in the Patriotic Front.
I bring a message of condolences, deep condolences from the Republican President, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, who is in Mwami at this point as I'm speaking, Mwami border post, commissioning a one-stop border post to his counterpart, the President of Malawi. He sends his deep sorrow and condolences to all of us who are gathered here, most especially to the widow, Mrs. Ngulube. Mr. Ngulube's departure is a very, very serious loss to all of us. Those of us who experienced him, we could easily describe him in the following manner: that a stranger is just that best friend you've never met before. Because that's what Honorable Ngulube was about.
Before being put to his final resting place, his body was moved to the Kabwe High Court for the valedictory service since he was a lawyer. The death of Mr. Ngulube, who was also opposition Patriotic Front member of the Central Committee, shocked many as he was active on social media hours before he was confirmed dead. Mr. Ngulube, who died at the age of 43, has been described by many as a gallant and fearless politician who contributed immensely not only to his political party, but to the National Assembly, and many so to the people of Kawe, who he represented as Member of Parliament until 2021, when he lost his re-election bid. May his soul rest in peace. Miriam Kemba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Opposition Patriotic Front FEIRA Member of Parliament Emmanuel Tembo has advised President Hakainde Hichilema not to take the path of arrogance by disregarding divergent views on fostering national development. Mr. Tembo has accused President Hichilema's administration of paying a blind eye to issues they have been raising, such as the increase in the cost of living. And Mr. Tembo says government's response to the issues raised by Catholic bishops in their pastoral letter is discouraging, and has called on government to take serious the pastoral letter as it is meant to guide them. Mr. Tembo says among other things affecting Zambians include high poverty levels, corruption, tribal appointments, and unemployment among the Zambian youths, which he thinks government is not paying attention to. The FEIRA lawmaker has further charged that the UPND risks making history by becoming the first party in government to rule for one term.
You know, those are pertinent issues. If we speak as members of the opposition party, as parliamentarians, perhaps the UPND thinks that we are just criticizing them for the sake of it. But if you look at the Catholic board, those pastoral letters, they are meant to guide the party in government, and they are not meant to undermine. The issues of these appointments, the issues of fertilizer, the issues to do with, you know, management, they are very important. And I would urge this government, which is now becoming arrogant, to say that your days are numbered. Because I know, you know, the comments I got from the UPND colleagues on that pastoral letters are quite discouraging. And I thought that, you know, they would see the wisdom. But it seems, you know, a dying dog does not see the danger around. So perhaps our friends' days are numbered in government. And they will make a big history in the world to be the first political party to rule for 5 years, just one term in Zambia. So this is where we're heading to.
The National Pension Scheme Authority, NAPSA, has clarified that the assented National Pension Scheme Bill by President Hakainde Hichilema has revised the minimum age limit for one-off early access to Zambia National Provident Fund ZNPF benefits from 50 to 36 years. Addressing the media in Lusaka this afternoon, NAPSA Director General Muyangwa explained that the bill has also revised the penalty rate from 20% to 10% for delayed payment of contributions, and this will apply to new penalties incurred after coming into effect of the new law. Mr. Muyangwa says the revision of the minimum age limit required to access ZNPF benefits entails that all members who contributed to the fund between 1966 and 2000 have not made a claim now can do so without waiting to reach 50 years. Meanwhile, the Director General says NAPSA has put in place immediate measures to serve members immediately upon claim, and says all stations across the country will be attending to the ZNPS claim without exemptions.
The law addresses 3 key national pension scheme reforms, namely the revision of the minimum age limit for one-off early access to Zambia National Provident Fund benefits from 50 years to 36 years. The second part of the law that was signed by our President talks about the revision of the penalty rate for delayed contributions from 20% to 10%. This law will apply to new penalties incurred after the coming into effect of the law. The law further makes a provision for waiver of penalties on conditions that the minister, that's the Minister of Labour and Social Security, may by statutory instrument prescribe. The conditions and eligibility for the waiver will be availed as soon as the regulations are passed. But suffice to say, work is very advanced. They have already been drafted and just ready to be passed into law to support a law that was signed yesterday by our president to allow deserving businesses or employers to request for a waiver of their penalties and for NAPSA to proceed and process a waiver when all the criteria that will be prescribed by our minister are met.
You're watching Camnet Television, main news. We'll take a break. We'll be back with more news.
In our quest to save nations and develop Africa, Savenda is investing in the agriculture sector so as to produce supply for both local and international markets, housing over 12,000 pullets that are nurtured and fed with our locally made stock feed that comes from our own locally grown maize and soya beans, all processed from our recently installed milling and mixing plant. Our over 95,000 layers have an output capacity of over 1,500 trays of fresh eggs per day that are carefully selected and packaged for all the leading stores and supermarkets nationwide. Our greenhouses are fitted with the latest irrigation system, and the seedlings are nurtured to ensure only healthy plants reach the fields. With our deliberate planting schedule, we are better placed to supply constantly without interruption, thus reliable. Savenda Farms is also changing lives of its dedicated workforce drawn from the local community and beyond. So the next time you think fresh and green, think Savenda Farms.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
A falcon, known for flying high speeds, unmistakably grace and flying incredible long distances. Falcon Express is equal to the task with your deliveries. Friendly and reliable, a company that cares for you, local and international coverage, company that empowers its customers on time, every time, all the time. Nationwide delivery.
Send your parcel through Falcon Express to Mongu, Kabwe, Ndola, Kapiri, Kitwe, Chingola, Chipata, Livingstone, Mazabuka, Kasama, Solwezi, Kalumbila, Chililabombwe, Luansha, Kalulushi. Get in touch with us on +260 971 130 766 and drop your parcels at Falcon Express. Falcon Express. Your parcels are safe with us.
Good news, good news. The rains have started. You need to plan your future. Generation Wealth is the way to go. Has grafted avocado plants fruiting within 2 to 3 years for sale at only 90 kwacha each, and ordinary avocados at only 45 kwacha each. Contact us on 0979 753010 or 0962 965 883. We are open from 8 hours to 17 hours, Monday to Friday, at Healing Word Ministries International in Ibex Hill, opposite Hilltop Hospital.
Welcome back. We'll continue with the news. A state witness has narrated before the Lusaka Magistrate Court how former President Edgar Lungu's associate Harry Findlay was in possession of more than one passport. When the matter came before court Wednesday, Assistant Registration Officer at the Department of National Registrations, Passport and Citizenship, Mulenga Kaliwili, testified that the accused was issued a passport in 2014 whose expiry date is 2024, However, in February 2017, he made an application to process for a passport on basis that the 2014 passport was lost, when in fact not. This is in a case in which Mr. Findlay is accused of holding more than one passport and forging an immigration stamp. More in this report.
Trial has commenced in a case in which former Republican President EDGAR Lungu's associate, Harry Findlay, is accused of holding more than one passport and forging an immigration stamp. This morning, 7th December 2022, when the matter came up before Lusaka Magistrate Sylvia Munyinya, a state witness, Mulenga Kaliwili, an assistant registration officer at the Department of National Registration, Passport and Citizenship, testified how the accused was in possession of more than one passport. In his testimony, the witness has testified that in 2014, the accused Mr. Findlay was issued with a passport whose expired date is 2024. However, in February 2017, an application to process the passport was received on the basis that the 2014 passport was lost. The passport was issued in March 2017 to replace the passport which was lost. In his further testimony, the witness has indicated to the court that during the time the accused was arrested on the 23rd of October, he was found with a said passport purported to have been lost. Also that in November 2019, Mr. Findlay was issued with another passport which is valid up to 2029 November. The witness says there is no stated reason in their record shown or given by the accused for getting another passport. According to the witness, he had indicated before court that for one to renew a passport, procedure needs to be followed, and this includes if it has been expired or it has been lost, further adding that one cannot hold more than one passport. Earlier, Mr. Findlay took a fresh plea following the amendment of the charge by the state. He maintains a plea of not guilty. His lawyers dismisses the allegations against him. They earlier made an application before court this morning for the witness to be cited for perjury after the witness informed the court that the document he had intended to produce as evidence was computer-generated when in actual fact it was a photocopy. However, giving its ruling, the court dismissed that application and tendered the said document into evidence. Trial continues on the 28th of December 2022. Miriam Kaimba reporting for Camnet TV News.
A 37-year-old banker of Lusaka's Kamwala South and 6 others have pleaded not guilty before the Lusaka Magistrate Court to charges of unlawful access to data, forgery and stealing over 1.4 million kwacha. This is in a matter in which Costain Ngoma, a banker, is jointly charged with Elena Mwanza, unemployed from Libala, Happy Sichoni, 48, a salesman of Chilanga, Mpundu Chanda, 48, a businessman of Ibex Hill, Dominic Kambole, 29, a businessman of Minwood, and Habenzu Kantoma, 41, of Palabana area, a businessman. The accused are facing 11 counts of unlawful access to data, computer-related representation, forgery, uttering false documents, and theft involving 92,000 United States dollars, equivalent to over 1.4 million kwacha. In one of the counts, it is alleged that between the 1st and the 31st of December 2021, Ngoma and Kambole intentionally and without authority or permission accessed Standard Chartered Bank customer account core banking system data that is in a critical information infrastructure. While in the second count, allegations are that Njovu on December 24, 2021, without lawful excuse, imputed unauthentic computer data in Zamtel SIM registration and replacement system with intent that it will be considered or acted upon as if it were authentic. They have pleaded not guilty to the allegations before Magistrate Irene Washimanga. Their trial will commence on January 4, 2022. Government and its cooperating partner, Japan International Cooperation Agency, JICA, is implementing the expansion of community-based smallholder irrigation development project, ECOPSI, in Sarenje and Mukoshi districts of Central Province. Central Province Senior Irrigations Officer, Engineer Chelo Senkwe, says the project seeks to increase the area under irrigation for small-scale farmers in an effort to increase household food security. Engineer Chelo says the project is making strides as it is also taking care of the market challenges that farmers tend to encounter in their farming businesses. Engineer Chelo was speaking during the annual evaluation workshop for Central Province in Serenje. More in the following report.
Zambia has the potential to increase its agricultural output. Despite a favorable climate, fertile land, and vast water resources, Zambia's agricultural prospects are not yet fully tapped. To help farmers tap into the agricultural potential, JICA is implementing the EX-MUSHE project in Central Province. The project is emphasizing on the use of irrigation and many more.
Basically, the objective of this project is to increase the area under irrigation in the target areas. We have activities that we are promoting for us to be able to achieve our objective. One, we have to develop the irrigation infrastructure where we need to impound water so that we are assured of the water source, even as we grow our crops, so that throughout the dry season, the crops are able to grow without being stressed. We are implementing under this project water management, operation and maintenance. These infrastructure that we are putting up, which are called simple weirs, they need to be maintained so that they are able to stand a test of time throughout the irrigation period. And at the same time, farmers are supposed to use the water in an efficient manner so that they are able to irrigate throughout the dry season.
And Central Province Agriculture Officer wants farmers to fully utilize the water resources.
When we come as a province, even as a ministry, even as the ministers come, they should come and see a number of weirs constructed in all the districts where the project has been done, so that when they see the water will be put to good use, not in a situation where our waters go to Atlantic Ocean and Indian Ocean untapped. Let's tap this water, let's utilize. I've seen the areas under irrigation has increased tremendously in MPUKA district, in Serenje and Luano. As the land has increased, even the crops will be increased and the volume of harvest should increase also, so that farmers benefit.
Promoting the agriculture sector is one of the government's priorities. To diversify the economy from its over-reliance on its traditional products such as copper and exports. Helen Witty reporting from Serenje, Central Province.
You're watching Camnet television and not just another channel. We'll take a break. We'll be back with international and sports news.
You know I can take her a bit.
Yes, my dear.
I was thinking of getting you a Bugatti on your birthday.
Really?
I'm quiet. My name is Yana.
Don't worry, man. That's why there is insurance.
Insurance?
You heard me.
Not just any kind of insurance, but Savenda General Insurance, a company that offers superior customer service, highly professional and dedicated staff. We are not just any insurance company, but an insurance company that actually pays our claims. We cover, among others, fire, marine, aviation, engineering, agriculture, motor vehicle, and miscellaneous insurance. So, live life to the full, knowing that Savenda General Insurance has got you covered. Savenda General Insurance. Insurance excellence.
Good news, good news. The rains have started. You need to plan your future. Generation wealth is the way to go. Has grafted avocado plants fruiting within 2 to 3 years for sale at only 90 kwacha each, and ordinary avocados at only 45 kwacha each. Contact us on 0979 753010 or 0962 965 883. We are open from 8 hours to 17 hours, Monday to Friday, at Healing Word Ministries International in Ibex Hill, opposite Hilltop Hospital.
In international news, East Africa's worst drought in 40 years has killed more than 200 elephants and other creatures in Kenya in 8 months of this year. Wildlife proponents say that shrinking habitats and climate change are largely to blame. For more in international news, here's some stories.
Most of the skulls and bones found in this museum in the Tsavo National Park were collected nearly 6 decades ago. That's when a drought killed thousands of elephants. Scientists informally call the museum the elephant graveyard. Frederick Lala has been collecting such remains for years for research. He says elephants and other herbivores are again finding it increasingly difficult to get food and water. The government says more than 200 elephants and other game have died this year.
We understand that land is shrinking. Some of the dispersal areas that elephants used to go to during the dry seasons or during the droughts, most of them are now being occupied by people.
The rainy season usually starts in Kenya around this time, and although some areas are receiving rainfall, in Tsavo and others it's been sporadic. You don't have to go very far to find carcasses in this park. Most of the animals that have died are grazers and browsers. Park officials that we've spoken to say that they are trying to do the best they can. They say this is a devastating season. Large animals are walking farther in search of water and forage. Their space is shrinking as human populations are growing.
The situation has not been very good because we've even seen most of our rivers drying up aggressively. We've seen most of our areas remaining bare land, and that is a serious effect because now there's very limited forage for both wildlife and even the livestock.
Those working in the park say this isn't the worst drought they've seen in recent years, but the fact they're happening more frequently is worrying.
Getting water into some of the vast areas of the park has been an issue. Issues of the erraticness of the rainfall. We have water ponds within the park, but most of them are not able to sustain wildlife over a longer period of time. There's also the issue of siltation of some of the rivers.
Rangers are tasked with collecting carcasses, particularly those of elephants. They remove the tusks to prevent poachers taking them, but they say poaching is less of a threat to the animals than climate change. Catherine Soy at the Tsavo National Park.
Songs of resistance and hope sound in a neighborhood where terror and violence once reigned. Colombia's port city of Buenaventura is celebrating more than 2 months without homicides after the town's 2 largest gangs, the Shotas and the Espartanos, announced a ceasefire in preparations for talks with the government. 18-year-old community organizer and singer Alejo Alomía recently returned to his neighborhood after fleeing with his family. He was targeted for his leadership and feared he could be forcibly recruited in one of the warring armed gangs as they scrambled to expand their territory.
Everybody was worried, living in fear. Nobody could leave the house or cross into another neighborhood.
Long marred by poverty and neglect, Buenaventura's lived through escalating turf warfare between gangs in what is one of the main drug trafficking routes to the United States. Now locals are repainting houses and sidewalks, commerce is picking up, and people are feeling confident again.
Just a few months ago, this would be totally empty. Not even dogs wandered around. But now with this peace-building process moving forward, people are out and about again.
When Gustavo Petro took power in August, he vowed to negotiate with all armed groups in the country as part of his total peace policy, and he sees Buenaventura as a blueprint for peace across Colombia. The government is hoping the truce will lead to gangs being disbanded in return for judicial leniency and social investment.
Germany says it has foiled a far-right plot to overthrow the government. 25 people, including a soldier and a judge, were detained after police raided 130 sites across Germany. One Russian national is also among the detainees. The so-called Reich citizens were allegedly preparing to force their way into the parliament.
at its heart, it is suggested that these people have believed that there is some kind of deep state operating in Germany, which is antithetical to Germany's interests, and that this Russian national, with others who are amongst those arrested, may have tried to approach the Russian Federation for some assistance. It is not known what sort of contact they had, what happened from those contacts, if indeed they happened. Lots of questions about what the authorities have announced. What we know for a fact, 25 people arrested, around 50 people are of interest to the authorities, thousands of people involved, of police involved in this, 11 different federal states have seen raids taking place, and this is clearly an ongoing operation.
We now have some sports news. The Zambia Boxing Federation, ZBF, has praised the government for increasing financial and technical support to boxing. Zanis reports that ZBF Secretary General Westi Chewe says the political will being demonstrated by the new administration in supporting all sports disciplines will strengthen sports development and attract positive performances. Chewe said boxing is back on the upswing due to government's equitable support to the Boxing Federation's development programming and participation in tournaments. Mr. Chewe said the programs are tight, but with the help of government, which has shown political will towards boxing, great performances and more medals are expected. He noted that with increased funding, boxing will go places next year as the Federation starts preparations for the 2024 Paris Olympics and African Games. The ZBF Secretary General described the 2022 as a good year for boxing as the country's boxing profile has been raised in the international spotlight. To end Camnet television news, we'll take a look at stories making headlines once again. Former President Edgar Lungu's associate Vauden Findlay had more than one passport witness tells court. Chief MPUKA describes late distribution of inputs as a blessing in disguise. EX-MUSHE milling employees spend the night in court at ZCCM Investment Holdings offices demanding for benefits. In international news, hundreds of Kenyan animals die in severe drought. And in sports news, Boxing Federation commends government. Our Camnet verse for the day is coming from John 11, verse 25. Jesus said, I am the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me will live even though he dies, and whoever lives and believes in me will never die. Do you believe this? Thank you so much for watching Camnet Television News. My name is Jeffrey Ziambo. Bye-bye.